You're listening to nothing important. Please enjoy the show. That's great. That works.
All right, Dave, before we get rolling, we should definitely let people know that we're hooked up through Amazon now on our website, www.nothingimportantpodcast.com. If anybody has anything that they need to purchase off of Amazon, if they go to our website, either it's saulgoodman.com or nothingimportantpodcast.com, click through us. They'll, of course, get the Amazon prices and such, and it'll kick back a little bit to the show, which is awesome because I know being that we have like Dan Severn, there's a lot of MMA and UFC merchandise on Amazon, so people should definitely check it out.
Yeah, and Father's Day is coming up, so when you're getting that gift and not being an asshole, go through Amazon to buy your dad a gift, and we get money too. Because one of us is a father, and the tests are still pending on my part.
Nice. Well, I got to tell you, Dave. This little podcasting experiment that we've been doing, it has kind of taken like some surprising turns, don't you think?
I think so.
Like we kind of became popular with the Saul Goodman, and all of a sudden we're having like named people and like all these different people willing to talk to us, which is absolutely awesome. But this episode, to me personally, meant a lot. You know, I grew up wrestling. I wrestled in college, caught an injury, and that was the end of that. But wrestled all over the country. And I'm a big MMA fan. You and I, even though I know you don't watch MMA as much, you and I have talked about the sport before.
Absolutely.
And so it was amazing to me. I was just like thinking of people that we can invite on the show. And I was like, oh, what the hell? I'm going to go with Dan Severn. And he accepted. How about that?
Which is awesome because when I used to live with a big fight fan in Arizona, and we'd play UFC a lot, and Dan Severn was my guy. Like, for real. He's like the one UFC fighter that I actually know by name.
Right? He's hearing him talk. He just has incredible stories about a bygone era of what it was really like wrestling, during the Cold War around the world, and what it was like when MMA was in its infancy and there was no gloves and not a lot of rules. It was, however long it went, you went in there and you fought and you duked it out bare knuckle, and you did it against multiple people in one night. That's unheard of.
It's craziness. It's like the movie No Holds Barred.
with Zeus and Hulk Hogan as Thunderlips.
It's on my Netflix list right now, actually.
Yeah. I got to tell you, as we're recording this, I haven't actually heard the full thing because I actually had some phone gunkiness, I guess, so to speak, during the interview. But even though it was kind of hard to hear on my end, I just sat there, listened to Dan tell these stories, and it was like, it was like the old man preaching to the town's children about how it was back in the day. Like, you can't help but sit there and listen to the man who's literally been super successful, inspired millions, and done things that only some of us can dream about. I mean, shit,
I'm sorry. I love the breaking down of the age barriers that he's done because, people our age are midlife crisis, basically. Is, oh, I'm too old for this, I'm too old for that. And the dude started in an organized fighting organization years older than I am now.
Yeah, older than I am now. I'm 34. I believe he said he was 36, wasn't he? 36?
He was 36, and we're both 34 right now, yeah.
Yeah. Just a incredibly awesome interview, so I hope he sat with us for a while, too, which is big props.
You couldn't get him off the phone. That's the best part. You get to that part of the interview where Brian is trying to kick him off the phone, and he just keeps talking like you're not even like... He's like, oh, I'm going to finish what I'm about to say, buddy.
Well, I was trying to be respectful to the man because we only asked for 15 minutes, and he was nice enough to keep talking. And, I didn't want to keep him on the phone, and I had some other stuff we had to do. And then just with the weird way that we have to do the phone sometime, I couldn't tell if he was trying to end, and I couldn't hear on my end because my phone sounded goofy, so I'm interested to see how it turns out. But make sure that you go to his website, www.dansevern.com. If you don't know anything about him now, you should definitely look it up. So enjoy our chat with Dan the Beast Severn. Ladies and gentlemen, on the Someone Important hotline, it's Dan the Beast Severn. Dan, thanks for talking with us today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on, Brian.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Dan, growing up as a Greco-Roman wrestler myself and a fan of UFC, it's quite an honor to have you on our show.
Well, I'll tell you what, you'll get a chance. You'll find out a few more little trivia things you probably never knew about me as this conversation continues on.
Okay, perfect. Well, I guess to start, your career spans from amateur wrestling to winning over 100 mixed martial arts fights, a lot of which happened before MMA was even a thing, when it was no holds barred and it was bare knuckle. Your combat sports career.
I can interrupt you for 1 second because in the United States, you're a guy. Most Americans are so narrow, or not narrow-minded, but their memory, such a short-term memory that most Americans have. I mean, it's like yesterday's news is so far beyond their scope. Yes, what people know now as mixed martial arts, which has approximately 37 rules, such as weight classes, time periods known as rounds, athletes wearing gloves, and fighting one opponent in a given evening, started from the world of NHB, otherwise known as No Holds Barred. During the No Holds Barred era, the athletes only had to abide by two basic rules. Those being, do not bite your opponent, and rule number two, no sticking fingers in the eye socket, no eye gouging. So nobody no eye gouging were the only two restrictions. Only two restrictions. Other than that, it was carte blanche, and I mean carte blanche, and it was done at different times. No weight classes, no time periods. It was just continuous time until either someone succumbed to either tapping out or being knocked out, choked out, or the referee could actually halt the match if he felt that wasn't, there was no rational decision. The opponent could actually throw the towel in at that point in time if they didn't feel like their fighter was reacting in a rational manner. So it was a whole different type of era, and it was a 8-man tournament. The same 2-hour pay-per-view that continues to run to this day. During the No Holds Barred era, you had to face and defeat 3 of them in the same evening.
Wow.
Yeah, so everything was no holds barred, and you're going into this tournament where there's representatives from like karate and sumo wrestling, and here's Dan Severn, world caliber Greco-Roman wrestler, and at the time this was so unprecedented. What was your strategy going into that first UFC tournament as somebody who didn't participate in a combat sport with strikes?
Well, I'll tell you what, there, Brian. It's so almost comical. I only trained. By the time I knew I was actually in my very first UFC, which was UFC number 4. Mm-hmm. I've always been kind of a busy type person. I've been working out of a daily planner. I'll bet since my junior year in high school. That's a lot of decades of planners to have gone through. And I was nothing more than a last-minute fill-in. So I had a number of commitments. Mm-hmm. So I fulfilled my commitments. I only trained for 5 days, an hour and a half a day. And the closest thing I could find that came to a cage was a professional wrestling ring. A lot of people don't realize, but my very first profession was as of the 1992 Olympics. A new rule came down from the United States Olympic Committee that allowed athletes to be both amateur or professional simultaneously, as long as you were not participating in high school and or collegiate athletics, because you could be covered by High School Athletic Association or the NCAA. Well, I was well past my collegiate eligibility, so I could have my cake and eat it too. So I was pursuing professional wrestling. So my 5-day, hour-and-a-half training camp took place in Lima, Ohio, inside of a professional wrestling ring. I had 3 workout partners, and they had 1 old pair of boxing gloves between the 3 of them. So one guy would wear them, and they would try to punch, kick, do whatever they could do in terms of submissions and strikes. And I just basically was just either eluding them or closing the distance, taking them down, throwing them down with amateur wrestling techniques. Then once down on the ground, slapping on amateur wrestling techniques and basically turning them illegal to make my workout partners kind of scream and squawk. So the training camp alone was hilarious. The best wrestlers, they tend to over-embellish everything anyway. And then I show up, and if you can realize, I never trained a single punch. I never trained a single legitimate submission. So when I finally show up, as I'm filling out paperwork, they're like, well, what's your martial art? And I go, I'm an American wrestler. And they look at me and they're like, well, what's that going to do for you? I go, I'm not sure. Just watch and see. Because literally, when I tell people I was making this up as I went, that's the honest kind of truth. I was making it up because, who's going to just train for an hour and a half a day for 5 days and then walk into the world of no holds barred? And here I am. We're at what would be construed as the weigh-ins today for mixed martial arts. There were no weight classes, so we were at the press conference. And at the press conference, again, it was comical because you have all these guys that are dressed in muscle garb, like tank tops, muscle shirts, showing up the arms. I mean, just looking like thuggery is what it kind of look like. And then there's Ron Van Cleef and I, who show up wearing sports jackets and ties. We literally look like somebody's agent or somebody's insurance agent or something like that. And here we are. It was kind of comical because Al Snow, from the world of professionals, was one of my training partners, and he was out there with me, and he was wearing all the muscle garb, and literally they all thought that he was me, and I was just something like his manager, something like this, until we got out there like the day before, and we went through like a workout, stuff like this, and then at the actual press conference, now I'm the guy that's sitting up at the head table with the other 7 competitors, and Ron Beckley and I are sitting beside each other, and literally Ron and I, we're just having a good old time, just chit-chatting, and you get to know each other. And how they selected your opponent, they took out a bingo ball machine. And they basically just had your name on this bingo ball, so as it twirled around, first ball comes out, boom, there's you just say Rob Van Cleef, number 1. Boom, second name came out, Hoist Gracie, number 2, first match is made. So you found out who your opponent was less than 24 hours before you're going to compete against them.
Wow.
Think about that. If you think about mixed martial arts today, they are planning pay-per-view shows so far out. You know who your opponent is 6 to 8 months out now. You're planning your training camp. You're going to go to high elevation. You're going to do all this. You're going to bring in all these training partners. And here I am, training 5 days, hour and a half a day, in a professional ring, show up, my suit and tie, and, having a couple of chuckle yucks with Ron Beckley, and actually getting to know him. And looking at the other guys, I kept thinking, I hope he either gets either Hoist or myself. Because I think we're the only 2 guys that might be nice to him in this competition. Because Ron's a nice guy. I did not want to see him get hurt or anything like that. So it's kind of like, It's kind of funny that a guy like me is thinking that way, but, that's where, you'll learn some things about me that the ring name, The Beast, is nothing I made up. It was actually bestowed upon me by the legendary football player, Jim Brown. He was one of the play-by-play commentators for about I'd say somewhere around that UFC number 4, 5, 6, 7. He was there for like 4, 5, maybe 6 UFCs. And he even made comments from UFC number 4 when Dan Severn came on the scene. He was just so technical and so clinical. He was just a wrestler. When he goes to UFC number 5, he's so much more. He's so aggressive. He's punching. He's doing this. He's doing that. And I mean, he's just destroying the field. He's like an animal. He's like a beast. And to me, it's like anyone growing up knows that. I mean, I'm probably the biggest petting bear in the world. But when I stepped on my wrestle mats, that was more like a grizzly bear because I was a very serious competitor and I destroyed a lot of opponents there. But in the world of amateur wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, freestyle wrestling, judo, sambo, you name it, if they had 2 legs, I could probably take it at that point in time. So I'm babbling here right now, but that era of the nose guard, the younger demographics that are watching it today don't have any comprehension of where this sport came from, and also the rich history it has, and the unusual factor that you can still speak to its founders. No other sport can you do that with. I can't speak to the founders of football, basketball, baseball, hockey, or anything else because they're all dead.
Right.
But the Hoyts are still alive. The Ken Shamrocks are still alive. The Dan Severns are still alive.
And I got to tell you, in those early days, being a wrestler yourself, and I'm sure listener Andy Cooper will agree with me. Back in high school, wrestling can actually be kind of tough for a kid because you wear the singlet and everybody wants to, talk trash about like rolling around with other guys and all this ridiculous nonsense. And when UFC really started to pick up steam in those early days, me and Andy Cooper and a bunch of other buddies on the wrestling team, we're like, no, you get a wrestler in there, somebody's going to try to kick him, and he's going to get dropped on his head. Like wrestling is such a good base for self-defense and fighting, and I think you were one of the first people to really prove that. I remember watching the UFCs, and there'd be I don't have the names in front of me. But it'd be like Dan Severn versus like Joe Karate, and I'd be like, oh, are you kidding me? Like Severn's gonna mop the floor with this guy and drop him on his head, and you did it. And so it was for wrestlers, it was a great time to watch you suplexing people and like shaking off punches and taking people out and tossing them on their head. It was just really great to see.
Well, it just again, I'll just make a couple comments on that. That in today's modern mixed martial arts, pure fact is you look at 9 out of the top 10 guys per weight class. When you look at where did they come from, they're all wrestlers.
That's right.
To take a high caliber wrestler and teach them something about submission or something about strength. I mean, I coach at Arizona State, Michigan Wrestling Club. I would be a referee in challenge matches, 2 guys at the same weight class. Mm-hmm. And their skill sets being so close that they would become so frustrated with each other that they broke into fisticuffs. And I think now that you simply give a wrestler a green light, the AA takedown, and wrestler could care less if you pull guard because they're just going to ball up their fist and start to bludgeon you somewhere around that neck base head region called ground and pound was born. Right? Mm-hmm. Unsophisticated, but so effective.
Right, yeah. Yeah, take them down, pound their face. And I mean, this same thing with the sprawling and, a lot of hand fighting has kind of started to make its way into MMA as well. And, all wrestlers know you do a lot of hand fighting to gain position.
Yes, you do. That's when you talk about Greco-Roman wrestling, it is so much hand fighting that's taking place, jockeying for position, all of that, all of the above.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think it's such a great sport, and it's a shame that over the years so many colleges have dropped their programs, and I've actually heard people attribute it to the singlet. Real gi, what are your thoughts on if amateur wrestling should drop the singlet and maybe go to like a board shorts rash guard type look like no-gi jiu-jitsu?
That's a possibility. If anything, what started to take out a lot of wrestling programs initially was Title IX.
Title IX, yep.
And when you had to offer the same equal sports to all females. That took a lot of wrestling programs as well. And, it's female wrestling has really made quite a mark in the United States. A lot of America's women do very, very well. I'm just surprised I haven't seen any of them invade yet the world of mixed martial arts. But it will eventually happen. That's still my first love of teaching is amateur wrestling. I always tell people I started my amateur wrestling career in 1969, and by 1971 I was actually teaching amateur wrestling. So I won my first national title in 1972. So it just goes to show you I've been around a long time. Starting a cage fighting career in 1994, the UFC never had my age correct. I was 36. Just getting ready to turn 37 years of age when I stepped into my cage the first time. And, no one starts a career at that age. They would have retired at that age. But that's when opportunity presented itself. No, and even then, I never told a single family member when I was about to do my first one because, I think my parents got nervous when I wrestled. Well, what do you think is going to happen if I tell them I'm about to climb into a cage? So,
yeah, real quick. Actually, our listener who goes by Willie Pep wanted to know, how did your family react when they found out that you were going from wrestling to you're going to be locked in a cage and have to go against strikers and various fighting styles with no gloves on at the time?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I did not tell my family members. All throughout my entire career, I never would tell them when I had to go off and do an actual cage fight. Again, I refer to it as cage fighting because, the no holds barred is what it was known as at the time, and then to be a part of it all as it was changing. It didn't just all of a sudden just overnight just go to the unified rules. It was changing state by state. I'd be in a state, like say, up in North Dakota. I'd be in the middle of a match, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I can do this here in North Dakota. And literally, I'd be holding my foot down. I'd look up at the referee. I'd be, hey, ref, can I? And obviously, I have to tip my hat for what I'm about to do to my opponent, but I'd still would follow through. But I never had any violations against myself for doing something illegal in the process. And go back to answer the question right there. I didn't tell a single family member. And it's because of the damn social medias and stuff like this, cell phones, things of these. I ended up getting exposed. I ended up, two of my uncles just per chance came across a UFC, and they started watching, and they saw me coming on there. So now my uncle calls over to my parents' home, and my dad, my father's name was Marvin. And my dad answered the phone, and my uncle's like, Marv, he goes, do you know where your boy's at? Well, I have four other brothers. He goes, well, which one? And he says, well, Daddy. And my dad's like, well, wasn't he down in Coldwater? And my uncle's like, no, he's in this cage, and he's about to. My dad's like, what the hell? And then, after each match, my uncle's would call back, well, he won, he's okay, lost in the finals, but he's okay. And then it was funny because once I finally got back home, I had a message to call my father. Here I am, 37 years of age, getting chewed out by my dad. So it just goes to show you, that it don't matter how old you get. You're either going to be your mama's little boy or your daddy's little boy, and that's the way that your parents still look upon you because they're looking to protect you still.
Right. We have a listener who goes by Mr. Ziploc wants to know if you would compete in a UFC Legends division if they put together maybe some sort of pay-per-view tournament or such where it was you and some of the old timers like Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock. If they put together a small tournament for the legends and the pioneer of the sports, would you jump in that?
Even when I finally retired, the year before, I simply sent out a mass email throughout my entire database, all the various promoters and promotions I had, and I simply said to them all, if you plan on utilizing my services, it better take place somewhere during the course of this year, because at the end of the year, January 1st, I'm done. So I had been contemplating retirement probably my final, 4 or 5 years, but I was hoping for one last big match to go out on. Literally, if I could have had my dream situation, I would have had 3 final matches. I would have had a Mark Coleman, a Ken Shamrock, and a Hoist Gracie right in a row. That's what I wanted. And I don't really usually put too much of my aspirations in other people's hands. I'll call all 3 directly. And basically had communication with them, and they all agreed to do a match. But it seems that different things came up, and it was never going to happen. That's why I finally just decided, it's never going to happen. So I'll just, put out this mass email, let everyone know that, this is the final year for me, and then that, January 2013, I'm done. So came about. I had a lot of promoters contact me, and I had several matches during the course of 2015, and then poof, January hit and done. But I told people that retired now, but I would come up for one of those 3. Now, the irony, I think you got to have some different rules. I don't think the Legends division would live up to the hype.
Gotcha.
To allow a little more time for the participants to get across the cage, use the walkers and arcades and things of that nature. We require mouthpieces because we can just leave our dentures out on the table, and maybe special rules like no kicking the prosthetics, no keep the oxygen tube that you're wheeling around. And of all things, do not squeeze the colostomy bag. That would be a real stinker.
Steve,
I use it in a lot of jest, but you might see a whole lot of new sponsors on the white trunks. Those Severn isn't wearing trunks. Those are Depends. Yeah, so.
Steve the Weasel wants to know, when do you think that you were your best Dan Severn? When do you think that your best Dan Severn could have kicked any other Dan Severn's ass?
1984, 1986. I was king of the world. Way before my UFC had. Brian, if things would have went the way they should have went for me in my amateur wrestling career, you guys would have never seen me. My goal was to retire after the 1984 Olympics. I was going to be the Olympic representative at the 225-pound weight class. I was going to win the gold medal, but instead, I was the alternate, and I had to sit up in the stands and watch the guy ahead of me win the gold medal without giving up a single point. Everybody that he went against, I pinned in less than a minute.
Wow.
Even at the heavyweight weight class, Bruce Baumgartner was the Olympic U.S. Olympic representative. Everybody.
Yeah, Bruce Baumgartner.
I pinned in less than a minute. So it's kind of like it was a hard thing for me to sit there and watch this. And I tell people that I had to perform my own exorcisms. I had issues, and I had to work them out. And I probably owe a few people some apologies of what happened to them in the course of the following 2 years, from 1984 to 1986. Oh, I ruled the world. King Kong and Godzilla didn't even stand a chance against me at that point, because I just had bad attitude when I stepped onto the mat. Nothing would ever get close. Nothing would ever be left into referee's hands or discrepancies of a couple of mat judges. Well, but about, like the no-holds barred to mixed martial arts today, there's weight classes today. When I started my amateur wrestling career, it was unlimited at the heavyweight weight class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So people don't realize this. The weight was in place somewhere around the mid-'80s. Well, actually, it was still in '84. Still in '84, it was still unlimited because part of the Olympic training camp, they wouldn't even let me work out with the Olympic representative. They sent me over to the heavyweights, and so I'm working out with one heavyweight that's 420 pounds. And then there's the next one that's weighing 340 pounds, and then the skinny one is weighing 320 pounds, and then here I am, I'm the 220 pounder. Now that's even when I weigh 220 pounds, when I'm not down the weight, I push more like that 235, 240. Just used to cut it down to 220 pound weight class.
Huh. Gotcha. Yep, I just wanted to ask you because since you went into the Olympics. Okay, so we got a few more questions, and I know Dave has a couple questions, and then we'll let you go. Okay.
All right, shoot away.
Okay, so here we go. Listeners that go by the name of Cruid and Mindless Optimism, they'd really love to hear you tell the tale of what it was like being a teenager and wrestling adults in other countries such as Iran. I think I read the story about you wrestling an older gentleman in Iran, and things kind of got a little goofy. And I was wondering if maybe you could tell us a couple of those stories.
Yep, actually, well, close. It was Istanbul, Turkey. I was part of a U.S. All-Star team, 16 to 18 years of age, and we went to the country of Turkey. And we were supposed to wrestle Turkish wrestlers between 16 and 18 years of age. My first opponent is a 35-year-old military man. He's been competing longer than I've been alive. Fully aged, buzzed down hair, and just a combination of beatenness, ugliness, and muscularity all intertwined. And this guy just stalked him back and forth. Caged animal, can't wait to get a piece of this weenie-looking America because I didn't realize I'm 17 years of age. This is 1976, I think, and I've got a mop of hair on my head because that was that big era. Referee starts the match. My Turkish opponent does a collar tie, where basically he reaches up, cups the back of my head, but in the process of cupping it, he grabs a wad of hair, gripping it, and then literally pulls my head back and headbutts me, split and cutting my eyebrow, and then to add insult to injury, he tears a wad of hair out of my head, and just flings it down on the ground. So as I'm backpedaling, my hands up on the side of my face, blood is trickling on down. I'm looking at the referee like my opponent should be disqualified for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Right.
As I always tell everybody else, well, we're not in Kansas City there anymore, Toto. We're in his backyard. He's probably related to the referee. The referee steps up in between us. He kicks a tuft of hair out of the way, and he cautions me for passivity. I'm stalling. Matches during this time era were 9 minutes long, 3-minute periods with a 1-minute break in between. You did not, in today's amateur wrestling, you stop for any kind of blood. The match is halted, the mats are clean, the wrestler Patrick is sterilized, quarantined, the whole 9 yards. During this time era, you wrestled with a handkerchief inside of your singlet. So that if you had a bloody nose, split lip, or whatever, you reach in your singlet, you pull out your handkerchief, you wipe, and you continue. Because if you had to take time out, you were cautioned for passivity. Too cautious, you'll automatically start to lose points. Even if your shoe came untied, you would be cautioned for passivity. So it was a whole different era of wrestling. So I grabbed my cheek, wiped the blood, shoved the cheek back in. Now I'm motivated. I fire it in on a double leg. I zap him on down. He goes down to the ground. Again, different than in mixed martial arts. Wrestlers don't want to be pinned, so he's not laying on his back. He's laying on his stomach. I'm up on top of him. There's a technique called a crossface. Take the bony portion of your arm, and you can cock the arm back, and you can be nice and just put across soft facial tissue, or you can pull back even further and just slam across their face and just do it with a great deal of force, beatness, whatever you want to refer to it as. I about punched his face right on off with my forearm. I broke the lose the process. I've got blood pouring out on my arm. and all of a sudden I feel all this pain shooting in my arm because he is biting my forearm now, trying to take a chunk of U.S. grade A out. And that's when I took my cheese done slipped off his cracker. I reach up there with my hand because now my intention is I'm going to kill you. I'm going to jam that, I'm going to take my bony portion arm, I'm going to jam that little piece of cartilage into that black hole of space called your skull, and they can bury you out in the sand dunes. I could care less because he's trying to hurt me. I'm going to retaliate. So as I'm here, the nose snap, crackle, pop, and running in there, the referee is pulling my arm away, penalizing me for an illegal maneuver as I'm standing up. Now, as my opponent, at the end of the first period, this all happens in the first period. We still had 2 more rounds to go. At the end of the first period, the referee sends me back to my corner. I'm a bloody mess. The referee sends my Turkish opponent back to his corner. He's a bloody mess. During that 1-minute break, his coaches were so angry at their athlete that this weedy-looking American was beating him, pulled out a stick the size of a broom handle and proceeded to beat his athlete to motivate him.
Wow.
People ask all the time, weren't you nervous walking into that cage? I'm like, nope. I can speak the language, and I'm never more than probably 35, 40 feet from a medical practitioner.
That's an awesome story. Amazing story.
Yeah.
It happens. I've been hurt. I have been hurt far worse in my amateur wrestling career than in all of my cage fights combined. And that is almost a contradiction in terms of, and I always tell people, not inside the United States. Inside the United States, it's nice. International competition is a whole different era, and you gotta realize I was competing during the Cold War movement as well. So to be in what is now Russia was once known as the Soviet Union. To be there was
so it was a lot of
the whole different. So me to walk out there and have thousands of people hissing and booing and something like this at you, pretty commonplace. I just hated Americans.
That's awesome. Dave, you have a couple questions for Dan?
Well, yeah, a friend of mine, John, first he says, go Sun Devils. He was wondering about the professional wrestling career that you had. There's a rumor that they wanted you to get a tattoo on your forehead, and you want to know if there's any truth to that.
Well, actually, it was. The cycle of a professional wrestler that if you're a good guy, known as a baby face, or you're known as a bad guy, the heel. In the cycle of a professional wrestler, you usually go from one to the other somewhere point in time in your career. I'll use Hulk Hogan as example. When he wore the yellow and red, he was Hulk Hogan and pushing, drink your milk, take your vitamins, your little Hulkamaniacs. But then when he was with the NWO, he wore black and white, and he had this face paint that where he had like a black beard on his face. Mm-hmm. So it was just his cycle from being good to bad. Now I was basically classified as a babyface, a good guy, just a no frills, no nonsense kind of guy. And then all of a sudden they pitched me ideas of what they want me to be as this bad guy character. They wanted me to put 666 across my forehead as the mark of the beast. And then they wanted me to be an Undertaker disciple, and there's some picture stuff. And I put my hands up into a T position, and I blew a whistle. I go, hey, guys, time out. Not going to happen. I live in small-town USA.
Right.
I do not wish to have any repercussions to my family, nor to my businesses, nor to myself. You'd be surprised how many people buy into your product. And I am not. I want to know I can go out to a local restaurant with my family without some local priest wanting to run over and splash me with holy water or something like that. It just
right.
Some wackadoo people in this world. I had already had some preconceived ideas, and I thought they're pretty good. Never got a chance to pitch them to them, but like I said, it was interesting. And yes, there was 666 mark of the beast.
I'm also very just curious if you watched the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, because I know that there's a lot of conflicting feelings about how the fight went and the styles that the fighters use. And if you watch it and if you have any opinion.
I didn't watch it. I read all the different pieces about it afterwards, and the controversy kind of surrounded it. But I did not feel it firsthand.
Okay.
Awesome. And then Dan, the last question that we have for you before we sign off and let you go is, what is your favorite frozen pizza?
What is my favorite frozen pizza?
That's right. Everybody eats frozen pizza. Which one's your favorite?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Hungry Howie's, you just can't. Excuse me, though. Little Caesars, you can't beat hot to go buy the $5 pizza right there. and the piece can put down 2 of those. I wash it down with a nice Diet Coke so it doesn't go to my waistline.
Right, you got to balance it out, right?
I mean, literally, I'd really have to think back. Did I? Oh, sure. I had to. The crust tastes like cardboard, but I just since all this modernization where convenience is there and ready and hot to go and whatever, it's pretty easy to swing by. Because now I just had my kids. I just give them some money and they'll run because they just want 4 or 5 pizzas just for their buddies. They're just human garbage disposal, so it doesn't. It's not like they need anything of real good nutritional value to them. It just it'll take care of what they're looking for.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for coming on the Nothing Important podcast. It's been an honor for me. Dave and I we really look forward to speaking with you. Great stories. It's good to see that you're enjoying your retirement and doing what you love. And maybe we can have you back on in the future.
Oh, yeah. Rest assured, I only retired from one sport. So people think that this cat's not rocking in any rocking chair anytime soon. I've defied a lot of age barriers, and I actually just last May, I started my very first professional submission grappling match.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And I gave up three decades of age there at 65 pounds of size. So that was a little bit of a tussle, but it came up all right for me without any preparation. So it was it's interesting. Again, when we go on next time, we'll talk about other aspects of my career that still kind of formulates, because it's most people don't realize. The sense of humor that I've had all along. They've only ever seen the serious competitor. Even now, I go out to appearances. I'll look. I'll catch up to I have a couple guys. They'll be talking. They'll be pointing over towards me. And I look over at them. All of a sudden, they don't even want to make eye contact with me. I'm like, over there, grab a suplex them on their head, and I'll wave them up the table with this. You guys have any questions? Feel free to ask. And after they talk with me for a little bit, they're like, "You're not at all like we thought you would be like." And I go, "Is that a good day or a bad day?" They're like, "Oh, it's a great day. We didn't know we could be so personable like this." I go, you have no flap to yap in this whole world anymore. Otherwise, people don't know what you like or dislike."
Well, I think
maybe it's also.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was saying, it seems to me like a lot of people and a lot of fans of sports like that, they forget that you guys are real people. They see all they see is in these intense, combative situations, so they think that that's your nature, and they don't realize that some people are just real people that may just have a passion for that sport or whatever, but when you're not in the ring, you're not training, you're just a normal dude.
Yep. Well, again, that's what you guys called earlier, and you couldn't reach me. I was finishing up a class that just went over a little bit more, because we were working on one technique, and a couple of guys just had a little bit hard time with it, so I stayed there a little bit longer, so they understood the mechanics and stuff like that, and they just couldn't believe the simplicity. And that's really the beauty about what I do as an instructor. As I said, I've been teaching amateur since '71, and all the other things that I've added into it was teaching professional wrestling, and then teaching freestyle wrestling and Greco-Roman wrestling, and then jumping into judo and competing in judo, and then teaching my flavor of submission grappling. And now I'm doing these catch wrestling seminars, mixed martial arts seminars, professional wrestling seminars, amateur wrestling seminars. And I've worked with law enforcement since 94, corrections since 95, and Border Patrol, Air Marshal, and military. So they all have different rules of engagement, but I can teach them all with the same enthusiasm and show them things they never even thought of, but simple things that they would have never thought of. So that's my gift. If I could sing or dance, I'd be on America's Got Talent or something like that. But I can't.
Well, it's great that you
teach things.
It's great that you're still passionate about your sport, and you're still teaching, and you're teaching the next generation to come up. And because a lot of people, once they retire, they're just done, wash their hands of it. But great for you to continue to inspire young people with your stories and just physically being there to help them. That's pretty awesome.
Well, that's the number one Facebook post that I get. It's like, thanks for inspiring me, not to climb into a cage, not to be a professional, but thanks for letting me know that I can do things beyond certain age barriers. And that's great. So the ring name, The Beast, has a lot of negative connotations. Mm-hmm. Anyone that knows me knows what a positive person I am. So I came up with my own acronym. The word "the" stands for Dan Severn. I'm a teacher, humanitarian, and I'm an educator. My message to young people is Beast. To believe in yourself, to educate yourself, to adjust your everyday attitude, to study hard, and then to teach others.
That's awesome.
I actually have a degree from Arizona State in secondary ed teaching. So it's like, I've been teaching wrestling since 71, and by 1981, I actually got a certificate from Arizona State that says, you are now a teacher. I go, well, you're about a decade behind, but that's okay.
That's awesome. And I do want one more comment. I saw an interview with you about you hate the phrase 110%, and I love that because I cannot stand that phrase. It's just the mentality behind that you're not giving your all the time. Yeah, that really spoke to me.
I bring that up a lot of times, and when I'm speaking motivationally to young athletes, or actually, even in life, most people don't even understand the comprehension of 100%. They've been on idle for so long that they don't even understand how to engage in life and to give it a real go at it. But to me, there is only 100% is when you are maxed out.
Right.
If you give it all. I mean, there's, if you can go on to that, if you go to 100%, if you can go beyond into that 101, now you've hit that zone of inhuman type of things. And then I have experienced only a few occasions in my life when I went beyond and I went into that zone of 101 to where it was almost freakish, where it's almost like everything slowed down, and it's like I actually knew everything that they're doing, and they couldn't stop me in the process.
Yeah.
So, but when people say, give me 120, give me 150%, I'm thinking, you suck at math. That's all I can say.
All right, Dan Severn, thank you very much for coming on the Nothing Important podcast. And I think Dave would agree. We would definitely let's schedule another time down the road. You can come on, tell some more stories, and it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure.
Absolutely. This is good.
Why don't you just check out the Facebook? They can go at Dan Severn or The Beast, or they can check out the website at dansevern.com. Just by selfish plug that at the end.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on, and let's bring me back in another 4 or 6 months down the road. I'll show you on that one. We'll talk about what The Beast is up to now.